Okay, good evening. I'd like to call the September 14th Shenandoah County School Board meeting to order. Dr. Shepherd, do you have a motion for a closed session, please?
I recommend the Shenandoah County School Board convene a closed meeting under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act in order to discuss and consider several personnel matters involving the assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salary, discipline, or resignation of several employees of the Shenandoah County Public Schools under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A14. And I recommend the School Board of Shenandoah County convene a closed meeting under Virginia Freedom of Information Act for the purposes of discussing and considering several student matters involving the omission, discipline, or disclosure of information contained in a scholastic record of students in the Shenandoah County Public Schools under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A2.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to that effect, please?
Yes, I move that the Shenandoah County School Board convene a closed meeting under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act in order to discuss and consider several personnel matters involving the assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salary, discipline, or resignation under Virginia Code 2.23711A14, and to discuss scholastic records involving the discussion or consideration of admission or disciplinary matters concerning any student of any state school system under the Virginia Code 2.2-3711A2.
Thank you, Mr. Barlow. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gutschall. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. We will be reconvened by 7 o'clock. Do I hear a motion to reconvene in open session, please?
I move to reconvene in open session.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gutschall. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Keller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carried by a 6-0 vote. Shenandoah County School Board hereby certifies by roll call vote that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open session requirements by Virginia law were discussed in closed meeting, to which this certification resolution applies. And second, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting was heard, discussed, or considered by the Shenandoah County School Board. Each member responds, "I so certify," when called by the clerk.
Ms. Walsh,
I so certify.
Mr. Gutschall,
I so certify.
Mr. Barlow,
I so certify.
Ms. Roots,
I so certify.
Mr. Keller,
I so certify.
Mr. Huss.
I so certify. Next, we have the invocation and pledge by Ms. Walsh. But prior to her remarks, on our screen, we had two former employees that passed away. Patricia Strohschneider, which was the secretary at the Northern Inn, and Margaret K. Miller, who worked in our cafeterias. So if we would pause and remember their families for the service they gave us. Thank you. Ms. Walsh.
Karen, would you be willing to come up and do a very quick invocation? Just three or four lines? Since you're here.
I play pray short.
I had something prepared, but I know you'll be better than
Eternal God, we give you thanks this day for this opportunity to get together to discuss the education of students in our county, that they may be open to learning. Be with each of the members here tonight as they consider the business that is at hand. We ask your presence in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I so move.
Motion made by Mr. Barlow. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Keller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion passed by a 6-0 vote. Dr. Shepherd, recognitions, please.
So I would like to introduce Mr. Dorman this evening to recognize one of his Mountain View High School athletes.
Members of the board, Dr. Shepherd, thank you for giving us a little bit of time here this evening to recognize one of our students, athletes that did exceptionally well back in the spring at the state track tournament. Just due to some scheduling conflicts, we had a tough time getting him here between that and other things, but he's here with us now. And I'd like to first introduce to you Ms. Mary Clanahan, our track coach. She's going to talk about some of his accomplishments at the state level and school level.
School level. Hi, I'm Coach Clanahan, the head coach of Mountain View High School. Stuart participated in 6 events at the state event this year. He was the state champion in the 100-meter hurdles and the 300-meter hurdles. He was undefeated in this season in the 100-meter hurdles, and he set the school record in both the 100-meter and the 300-meter hurdles this year, which is a feat. He broke his brother's record, which broke their father's record.
Right.
And he's sitting in here. He placed 4th in the long jump, and he placed 5th in the high jump. He placed 6th in the 200 meters, which he is very close to breaking that school record. And he placed 7th in the triple jump, which he is a junior and he gets to come back this year as a senior. So we're looking forward to this young man coming back this year, but he is a state champion in 2 events and we're looking forward to him coming back again this year. And he is at the top of our class right now, and this is to be said.
Thank you, Coach. You're ready, Coach.
Next, Ms. Holtz will be recognizing our Strasburg High School FCCLA.
Dr. Shepard, Mr. Helsley, members of the board, it's always an honor to stand before you to recognize our students. It's exceptionally an honor to be here this evening to recognize members of our FCCLA who traveled in July to Denver, Colorado. They had an exceptional time, lots of fun, but more importantly, they represented Strasburg High School and Shenandoah County Public Schools in an amazing fashion. I'm going to now introduce Ms. Heather Heiserman, advisor of our FCCLA, to recognize these fine young individual students from Strasburg High School.
Good evening. As she said, thank you for allowing a few minutes of your time to recognize the Strasburg High School FCCLA. The Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America had the privilege of attending the 2023 National FCCLA Leadership Conference this July in Denver, Colorado. Our chapter participated in general sessions, workshops, competitive events, and we had time to explore the city of Denver. We saw moose too, that was cool. The week was a successful one in terms of recognition for our chapter and of course our individual members. Our chapter received the Families First National Program Award. This included a $1,000 prize, and we were able to share that project with others at the chapter showcase. Claire Keefe and Sam Reinhart were recognized as Power of One completers. This is an award given to members that complete all 5 units of Power of One. All 4 members competed in STAR events. They earned this opportunity by placing first at the state level competitions. I'd like to recognize Claire Keefe. She's a senior this year. She competed in Career Investigations Level 3 and she earned a gold medal. Paige Heiserman competed in Teacher Train Level 3 and she also earned a gold medal. Kennison Huff, she competed in Hospitality, Recreation, and Tourism Level 3 and she earned a gold medal and a first place trophy in the nation. And Sam Reinhart competed in Leadership Level 3 and he earned a gold medal and also a first place in the nation. There's a great deal of work that goes into competing in STAR events. Members spend hours preparing, often including they have to do displays or portfolios. In the case of all 4 of them, they had to do a portfolio. Claire had to research a specific career. She had to take part in hands-on career-related activities, and then she had to develop a career plan, which included her college and all the activities she needed to be involved in. Paige created 3 lesson plans that she actually had to go to Sandy Hook Elementary and carry out with the class. She had to document that whole process, and then she explored the field of education. Kennison, she created a fictional event space that she had to develop her own website and then show an understanding of how to successfully run a business in the hospitality industry. Sam had to participate in a leadership academy, set leadership goals, and then he had to track all his progress along with reading a book and writing lots of essays. All of these events included a 5 to 10 minute presentation with a question and answer session with judges. So it's a real commitment to to compete in these events at this level. So I'm very thankful for the opportunities that we get and appreciate your support, and I'm very proud of these kids. So thank you.
Nice t-shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really cute.
Just a comment, well, I'm always proud to see the Strasburg contingency here. Heather Heisman on your kids every other meeting, it seems like. I'm wearing Central colors, but I want to ask Stuart Pirtle if he realizes how good his daddy was in high school. Okay? And that was back before you had the training that you do now, the nutritional things that you do now. You're aware of that, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Mr. Pearl, what year did you graduate? Yeah.
78.
78, okay. He's older than me.
Thank you, Mr. Keller, for that input. Miss, yes.
One more.
I see.
Ms. Darla Mumal, she is going to talk to us about the Competent Learner Model Coaches Certification. And she is our transition specialist.
Dr. Shepard and Chairman Helsley and members of the board, I'm very pleased and honored to come before you again this school year in order to bring attention to the Competent Learner Model. CLM, you may hear, is a program that provides weekly classroom coaching, and there's an online course of study encompassing over 120 hours of professional development. It's a demonstration of commitment to Shenandoah County schools and most importantly to our children. These hours are completed in addition to the teacher's school day. CLM is evidence-based instruction, data collection, collaboration with school and home. Instructors learn how to motivate their learners to participate, coaching teachers on direct and delivery of instruction, and making learning fun. A demonstration of commitment to Shenandoah County schools again, and oh, I just repeated myself, sorry. So we have with us this evening Miss Emily Combs, special education teacher from Mountain View High School. Emily started as a parapro and moved her way up into the teaching world, and this is about her 12th school year. And she is an exemplary teacher in the division who always goes above and beyond for her students and her team. We are happy to be able to congratulate Emily on this certification and thank you to your commitment to our students.
Chairman Housley, those are all the recognitions.
Thank you, Dr. Shepard. Shenandoah County School Board welcomes public comment during most regular meetings and public hearings. School board members do not respond to public comments during the meeting or hearing. Each speaker may speak up to 3 minutes. The board generally allows up to 30 minutes for public comments on agenda and non-agenda items at the beginning of the meeting. If there are a large number of speakers, the board may limit the total time for comments and or reduce the time allotted for each speaker. All comments should address a matter related to Shenandoah County Public Schools. Complaints regarding division employees should be directed to the school principal or the appropriate school division official. The school board expects each speaker will be courteous, modeling for our students how one can respectfully disagree with other views. Speakers will address the comments to the entire school board and not to one individual school board member, to the superintendent or to a staff, nor to the audience. Speakers will not engage in personal attacks. Speakers may sign up as you enter the room this evening, and I will call the names in order that you sign up. The first speaker is Brad Skipper.
Good evening. Tonight, I am speaking on behalf of the Shenandoah County Democratic Committee. Last month, I implored this board to keep politics out of our schools, but some of you refused. One of you went into a histrionic hissy fit claiming that I sent out multiple requests for an all-hands-on-deck initiative to have Democrats speak out against this intended government overreach concerning library policy, when nothing could be further from the truth. We made 3 posts to our Facebook page to bring this proposed policy to the attention of our members. First, to apprise people of the plan. Next, to ask folks to email you with their comments. And lastly, to notify them of the opportunity to speak in this forum, same as we do with every other important issue. That same member also claimed that I personally called them a fascist, racist, and a slaver, and I would suggest that they need a lesson in reading comprehension. To conflate my comments about policies, Jackson, Lee, and Ashby, and somehow turn that into a personal attack on an individual who supports honoring them with taxpayer funding is absurd. But if one feels guilty about their public support of those who killed American soldiers, so be it. Another board member, without warning to those in attendance, forced the audience to listen to a self-claimed pornographic passage from a book and said it was taken from one of our school libraries. I've been apprised that a FOIA request shows that claim to be false. That book has never been in our school system, and that person should apologize not only to the citizens in this room that night who were forced to listen to it, but also to the rest of you for lying in their official capacity. Seems to me that a censure motion would be in order for such an egregious misrepresentation of the facts just to sway public opinion. To top it off, one of our supervisors, who openly advocates for the aforementioned racist traitors to our flag, stood up and cautioned all of you to avoid personal pressure from a bunch of woke leftists, while turning and pointing at me and others, and to pay attention only to your constituents who are not in attendance. Such personal attacks should not be tolerated by anyone, much less public officials who are elected to serve our entire county and not just the majority. That person should also be censured or banned from this room for those divisive comments and lack of decorum. Living in the U.S. allows for peaceful opposition to the government policy or proposed policy with both words and actions. When I personally get called out with such vitriol for suggesting that people are empowered to stand up and have their voices heard, these actions are incompatible with the very concept of the freedoms we hold dearly. Let me say this loudly and proudly. It is not a sin, a flaw, or somehow criminal to represent the Democratic Party here or anyone else. Thank you.
The next speaker, Lucinda Erbach. Good evening.
Good evening, thank you. School board members, administration, and Shenandoah County citizens, my name is Lucinda Erbach, and I am proudly the librarian at W.W. Robinson Elementary School. Thank you for your time. Lately, there's been a lot of negative focus on the SCPS libraries and we librarians. It is occurring in print, in this room, and on social media. Vague accusations have been made about us handing individual students inappropriate books, grooming students, peddling in pornography, sabotaging technology, and having left-wing agendas. To this I say no. If we were doing any of these things of which we are being accused, the Human Resources Department would be very much involved. Speaking of HR, school employees are trained and must sign off on pledges that we will conduct ourselves in a professional manner on social media. I have no problem with this, as it should be the rule in general practice for all. That's enough negative. My grandmother used to say that one should toot their own horn lest it remains in a state of untootedness. We librarians and so many working in education are getting little public acknowledgement for the work we are doing. Plenty of complaints, often misdirected at employees who have no control of issues plaguing education in general and SCPS specifically, like lack of bus drivers, support staff and substitutes, aging infrastructure, greater incidence of student aggression, oversized elementary schools and classrooms, etc. So, on to some positive tooting. I'd like to thank the school board members who year after year make it a priority to attend the SCPS convocation where extraordinary employees are recognized. It is a simple yet effective way for you to publicly acknowledge our work. Toot toot! High school librarians Lisa Gibson, Melissa Lewis, and Carissa Jenkins have made their spaces functional for the modern teen. They see what their incoming freshmen are excited about and build collections and programs that will grow with them as they move through to graduation. Lisa has been Regional Librarian of the Year and a mentor to many of us. Toot toot! Tina Hartwig, Janae Jenkins, and Dawn Gilmore, our middle school librarians, have been working towards collaborating with their teachers, maintaining relevant collections, and providing enriching experiences for their students. Toot toot! Dan Mallory, Melissa Boyce, and myself have worked to create welcoming libraries, maintain collections that engage and excite, and teach lessons in unwalled rooms serving populations well above the normal elementary number. Melissa will conduct over 25,000 book checkouts before the end of her first year as a librarian. Toot toot! School librarian positions are one of the few in education that have pools of applicants. We were selected by our administrators who saw value in the extras that we can provide, knowing the vital role libraries play in the education of our students. We librarians are not heroes or particularly extraordinary, but we sure do have many things to toot over. Thank you.
Thank you. Virginia Rosen.
Good evening. Looks like it's going to be one of those nights. By the way, it's National Virginia Day, so when you get home, you can look it up. Well, at the last school board meeting, someone asked, what are you afraid of? Well, the answer is nothing, because fear is the tool of the devil. God is my armor and my shield, so I have nothing to fear. And speaking of God, what books would God like for us to have in the library at school, and which books would he not want us to have? Well, the answer is easy. Tonight we said the Pledge of Allegiance, and it contains the line, one nation under God. What does that mean to you? For me, it means just what it says. So, would God want a school board member to invite only one of the school board candidates to an event held at Central High School on August 31st? Did you know that person was wearing his campaign sticker? By the way, my understanding is that this meeting was for staff only. Why not invite everyone? I think God would frown upon that, and personally I think it's shady and unfair. You know what else God doesn't like? Arrogance, which was on full display at last month's meeting. And speaking of God, I'm reminded of one of my favorite stories from the Bible, David and Goliath. We all know the story of how David faced Goliath and killed him with just one stone. The biblical account of David and Goliath is one of the most popular stories from Scripture. It is a lesson of courage, faith, and overcoming what seems impossible. This story is relevant today and is a reminder of what we can do if we have faith in God. We are in a war right now between good and evil. We must fight for what is right and defeat the enemy. So choose well and be like David. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. Mr. John Woods.
Would it be possible to yield my right to speak now and just speak last at the end? Would that be appropriate, or you want me to speak now?
You want to speak last?
Should that be okay?
That'll be fine.
Great, thank you.
The next speaker is Erica Hepner.
Hello, my name is Erica Van Stee Hepner, and I live in Fort Valley.
I'm a mom to 3 current SCPS students. Representatives, thank you very much for your willingness tonight to actively listen and discuss these important issues, even when you don't agree. I've had email exchanges about the proposed library selection policy with several of you since the last meeting and truly appreciate your time and your consideration. It's clear that members of our community have concerns and questions about how library book selection has taken place. But it's also clear that there are many different opinions on how to move forward. Fortunately, we now have the option of 2 draft policies to discuss and consider. I applaud the school librarians for their initiative to present their own policy suggestions. This is an opportunity to show our children that even when we disagree, we can be respectful, actively listen, and work toward our common goals. Goals like transparency, parental involvement, effective library material selection, and support for our library professionals. National political pundits want us to be divided. Right against left, red against blue, conservative against liberal. They tell us the sky is falling, our country is in crisis, and it's all the other guy's fault, making enemies of our fellow Americans. But this is Shenandoah County, not Washington, D.C. Here, neighbors don't ask who you voted for before they help you cut up the tree that blew across your driveway. This is Shenandoah County, where we don't have conservative and liberal seats at the Friday night football game or in the church pews Sunday morning. We're all on the same team here. We're all on the side of wanting educated, successful, respectful children and motivated, appreciated, creative educators. Please don't let the partisan hate and gotcha antics in Washington become the blueprint for how we do business here. This is a wonderful opportunity to come together, to sort through our differences, and to show respect. I've just been very concerned by the example that many of us around the county are setting for our children because they are listening and watching. Thank you.
Thank you. Rhonda Richard.
Hello board members, Dr. Shepard. My name is Rhonda Richard. I live in Vicksburg. Last Friday, I emailed Ms. Shepard with concerns about the convocation held for staff at Central High School. I noticed online that one of the 5 school board candidates was there, sitting amongst the teachers while wearing his political t-shirt. Having been employed by Shenandoah County Public Schools for years, part-time as a job coach and sub, I knew that this event was for teachers and staff. In my email to Ms. Shepard, I asked how one candidate was in attendance and had the other ones also been invited. Rather than reply to me, she forwarded my email to the candidate directly for clarification. He stated in his reply that Chairman Helsley invited him and he told him it was open to the public. I was originally mad that Ms. Shepard had forwarded my email, but now I'm not, as we got the answer directly from the person that was in the pictures. My question is this: could this be considered election interference? Why aren't all 5 school board candidates invited? Also, change the subject. Why are 8th graders going hungry at North Fork? Why are they running out of food? I emailed you all about that. Dr. Shepard's the only one that replied. They're missing food because they're running out. Totally unacceptable. I'm hearing that milk is outdated. We've been in school 1 month. Why are we paying big money for a food service company to come in and let our kids be hungry? There's no excuse. Thank you for letting me talk.
Mike Rickert.
Good evening, Dr. Shepard and school board members. I'm here tonight to talk about the Shenandoah County convocation that took place on August 31st. For the public that are not aware, convocation is reserved for current staff, school board members, and specially invited guests. That afternoon, one of the candidates running for school board posted pictures to his Facebook campaign page showing him in one of his campaign shirts at the event where it was reported he handed out campaign materials. When asked who invited him, he responded that he was invited by a current school board member and was told that it was open to the public. This school board member not only gave him special treatment, but he also broke one of the school board's own policies by allowing this candidate to campaign on school property. Once I found out all of this, I reached out to Dr. Shepard and all of you school board members via email. The only responses I received were from Mrs. Rutz and Dr. Shepard. Mrs. Rutz stated she hoped he wasn't colluding to give an edge to the candidate he is openly supporting and using exclusive staff events to do so. If he was, she stated he should consider resignation for using his board position in a manner it is not intended. Dr. Shepard responded that she was unaware of him being invited, and that if she were going to invite one candidate, she would have invited all candidates. It's a shame that a board member would put her in such a position. I'm requesting you, Chairman Helsley, issue an apology to not only myself, Dr. Shepard, your fellow board members, but the other 4 candidates running for school board as well. Thank you for your time.
Charles Street.
Good evening, elected school board members, Ms. Melody Shepard. Hope everyone is well. I hope things are moving along after 1 month of school already in session. Right now I'm going to speak for Steve Heischman. I'm not as good a speaker as he is, but I'll try to use his kind of language, I guess. School board members, Dr. Shepard, thank you for hearing my voice this evening. At last month's meeting, during public comment, there was a lot of discussion on the issue of adult sexual content. And some of the library books in our public schools that's available to students under 18 years of age, and updating the school policy for more oversight of books chosen for our students to read and getting parents involved in the decision-making process. Many spoke on the issues from both sides, for and against the policy being updated and more oversight. Interestingly, after listening to several who are opposed of more oversight, it was clear that some had not even read the policy proposal and had no idea what they were even talking about. After public comments were over, most of the attendants left as usual. What I found very interesting was later in the meeting, as the school board was discussing a policy issue and each member was given comments, Mrs. Rutz read a couple of paragraphs from one of these books in our library to show the graphic and raw adult content being exposed to our students as minors. When she was finished reading, there was complete silence in the entire meeting room for several moments. That seemed like 5 minutes. The silence was deafening. Nothing else had to be said. The truth was exposed, and one could sense how wrong this entire issue is, especially in the public school system funded by our tax dollars, and another example of indoctrination hidden in plain sight and needs to be eliminated immediately. As I asked, where is the accountability? Parents who want their children exposed to this adult material can buy it online, but keep it out of the public school system, and they should be banned. On a brighter note, the WRE, Weekly Religious Education, has an amazing startup this fall with 3 times the number of students signed up for this year from last year. As said before, it's interesting to see when Jesus is allowed back in public school system after 30 years Satan exposed himself. No one cares when you bring up Muhammad, Buddha, or Krishna, but the moment you mention Jesus, people get uncomfortable. Demons get uncomfortable. That should be telling you something. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. John Woods.
Howdy. thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. I'm here to advocate for 111 eighth grade students at North Fork Middle School, and here's what I got to say. You're aware 5 years ago the eighth graders went over to Mountain View. Will they come back this year? For as long as I can remember. So the issue was the eighth grade teaching team had been shorted a math teacher, and I'll go over that. For as long as I can remember, each grade level team, and I actually checked with Mr. Heimgartner, has had 6 teachers. 2 English, 2 math, a history, and a science teacher. This has always worked out. It's provided flexibility when the numbers in the classes went up and down each year. This is the first time that the 8th grade instructional team has ever only had 5 teachers assigned to provide the instruction to the entire 8th grade class. I teach 75 of the 8th grade students in 3 classes, 26, 26, and 23 students per class. The science teacher, Ms. Brinkley, teaches the other 26 math students, and 10 go to Mountain View for algebra each day. So the effect of this decision has been not only overcrowding in the math classes, but also overcrowding in the science classes. Because Ms. Brinkley will only be able to teach 4 sections of science over the course of the year, 2 each semester, her science classes have 27 students per class. In addition to this, Ms. Brinkley has to prepare 2 subjects each day, and she has no additional planning period in which to do this. She didn't want me saying anything about this tonight. I can't imagine that this is what the school board had in mind when they shorted the 8th grade team of teacher this year. I'm assuming that this had to have been a mistake. So, on the off chance that it wasn't a mistake, here are my comments on behalf of the 8th grade class. According to the stated beliefs published on the Shenandoah County Public Schools webpage, I'm going to quote this. I won't read all of them, just the first 3, but you all should recognize these. Here are the first 3 stated beliefs. Great communities come from great schools, therefore we believe all decisions are based on the best interest of our students. Meaningful learning occurs only in the presence of meaningful relationships. Measures of success are unique and individualized for each learner. So, I don't know how to think through these questions. How is increasing class size from 16 to 27 students per class in the best interest of the students? How could that be? How does increasing class size from 16 to 27 students per class help the students to get access to individualized attention that they need in that classroom of 26 students or 27 students? How does increasing class size from 16 to 27 students help the students have more access to their teacher to develop meaningful relationships? I mean, those are directly related to those first 3 beliefs that we have stated on our website. There's only so much of a teacher to go around. So, okay. So, I'm wondering, did our direction change? Because under Dr. Raley, we were moving in the direction of reducing class sizes to 20 or less per class. When did we start moving towards larger class sizes in Shenandoah County? And why would we be moving towards larger class sizes in the light of socioeconomic factors, the reality of trauma experiences in the lives of our students in the heels of COVID? We aren't even having that conversation tonight. There's no denying that both of these factors are a thing in the southern end of the county. So, where I come from, we say if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Mr. Helsley, Mr. Bartlett, this is your district. These are the kids in your district. I implore you on behalf of the 111 8th graders at North Fork Middle School to fix this problem that we now have without delay. Overcrowding classes in the 8th grade math and science was not the right thing to do. Both of these classes have SOL tests at the end of the course. The accreditation of our schools is important to our parents, caregivers, and communities. I'm calling for you to turn this decision around immediately and to put in place a math teacher that was taken away from the 8th grade class at the beginning of this year. Thank you for listening. I trust that you hear my call to action in this critical matter, and I'll appreciate you keeping me informed of the quick progress you make in correcting this terrible mistake.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would any else who did not sign up would like to speak?
Good evening. Dorothy Lamb, Newmarket, District 1. I learned recently of the correspondence that was sent to Superintendent Shepherd regarding the attendance of one of the District 2 school board candidates. It appears that Chairman Helsley has chosen to be the scapegoat for the presence of the candidate at the convocation. The interesting thing about the invite that was not attended and not extended to any other school board candidates is that Chairman Helsley did not attend, and Jonathan Notagayaslai used the event as a campaign opportunity, wearing a sticker on his shirt promoting his candidacy. Perhaps Chairman Helsley, you can share with Mr. Notagayaslai that he can sport that blue shirt he was wearing, as did all that are employed at the central campus, but that District 2 includes and is of a majority the southern campus, and a red shirt's in order. A more concerning issue is why, when the email was sent to only Superintendent Shepherd, was the email shared with the candidate. He is not an employee of the system. On a much happier note, I am hearing positive feedback from staff about how well things have been going this year. In fact, I'm hearing from one staff member that this has been the best beginning since their first year ever employed here. This is a direct result of the improvements that were made last school year. One of the things that stood out in corresponding with staff is that they are not happy with the additional work that will be necessary due to regulating inappropriate book lists and access. Their position is that it is better to remove the books entirely, alleviating any additional work required of librarians, teachers, and administration. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak? Hearing none, we will proceed. Do we hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I so moved.
Motion made by Ms. Rooks. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gutschall. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried by a 6-0 vote. Information agenda. 4-1, Pastor Karen, just because.
I don't know how to move the slides. I was lucky to get the presentation going.
Hi, I'm Pastor Karen Casperson, and I'm the president and founder of Just Because. This is our 6th school year, and the reason we started is a lot of my friends are teachers or retired teachers, and 2 of my sons teach in other states. I know the overwhelming frustration they experience while teaching, and I was kind of overwhelmed with what they hear. So I decided that the problem is very big, but the best thing I could do, there's nothing anybody could do, but I thought if I didn't do something, no one would. So Just Because was started. That's kind of our logo to show that we are thinking of the importance of children. We were organized as an official 501c3 in 2018, and it's our 6th school year. The only time we missed our quarterly bag distributions was in April of 2020, and we have a hunch we remember why there was no school that year. We have 4 completely different goals, actually. First of all, I consider ourselves educating about education. By going around and talking to groups, I tell people about the importance of education and our educators and how hard they work, and I want to keep education at the forefront of what they're thinking. Second is we keep everything local. We talk to local businesses, I talk to local civic organizations. We want to make sure that local people are aware and can support what we're doing, because we know that when people have and can see the impact of what they're doing, financially or volunteer, that they are more likely to come. We also think it's important to take care of our volunteers. I have between 200 and 250 different volunteers I have to keep busy, which is kind of an interesting problem to have. But again, my youngest volunteer was 4 when she started. She was a preschooler, and she's now in 1st grade. Last time she helped with packing, and she took a lady my age who was a first-timer and showed her the ropes about how to pack. I want the kids to understand from a very early age the importance of volunteering. The fourth, of course, is the recipients of the bags themselves. It may not increase teacher retention. I wish I said it could, but it's a matter of making each person's day a little better. I think you have a testimonial that came to my attention just this past Sunday about the importance of what we do. I said a little bit of what our mission is. We show public appreciation to the teachers and support staff of all our county schools. That's all 10 of them and all the employees there. So we include the cafeteria people, we include the office staff, the paraprofessionals, everybody in that building. Last year was 903. What we do is regular small gifts of treats of various kinds. The last group was $6 per person. Last year we gave out $27,000 worth of gifts. It came out to $30.02 a person. I try to keep the gifts at 50 cents or under, and they include things like hand sanitizer, always pencils and tissues, bottles of water, fruit, lots of snacks and candy. We try very hard to come up with very interesting, fun things, as you'll see as well. Oops, wrong direction. Okay. What do we do? Those are some of the bag items we have, and I already said about the price of them. On the alternate months, because we do it quarterly, we've got to the point of giving one item so we don't have to have the big packing procedure. The packing procedure takes place from 9 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. We have 3 shifts, and I have about an hour and a half each. I average between 10 and 15 volunteers. Again, I've already said that part. We also have these cute little items we've been making in the alternate months, and I love the fact that we have people from all ages. We've had preschoolers through the nursing homes to help make these items. And we just are growing. We received a small grant from United Way to put on luncheons at each of the 9 schools. There's no sense in doing triplet. No way we can compete with their meals. So we've already hosted 4 of them, and we had approximately $4,500 worth of food and homemade desserts and even door prizes. So that was the price for last month. These are the 3 that are next scheduled. I know I've invited each of you to come to the one in your district, so please, I hope you will come to some. We also gave this time breakfast to the bus drivers for their mandatory meetings, and another one in March. Again, they were all homemade and donated by our volunteers. We just received, I'll talk about it in a minute, from the Shenandoah County pageant, scholarship pageant contestants used us as their community service project. We received about $5,000 in cash. We also received, I've got 4,000 snacks in my basement. I have a 40-gallon tote filled with just pens. So we are going to be having an extra packing. I don't want those snacks to expire. Out of the $5,000, we gave a check this week to Triplet, to the Culinary Arts Department, for $1,500. I've spoken to some of the music teachers, and as soon as they come up with ideas, we're going to provide up to $150 for each of the 14 music teachers to buy supplies that they need. As far as the art teachers, we just, a teacher passed away in May, not in this district, and she had more scrapbooking supplies. I have 7 40-gallon totes filled with scrapbooking supplies. We figure at least $25,000 worth. What I'm trying to figure out is a way to get them distributed to our art teachers and teachers in general. I had 2 over at my house, and they were just thrilled with the items that are there. So we're hoping to get those into the hands of people, and then maybe have it open to the public, since we have so many, and get pay for that and give that money in supplies to the art teachers. These are some of the items that we put in the bags. If you see on the right, that is probably the favorite craft I've come up with. It's called a Twinkie that we turned into a Minion. When someone received that bag, she said she enjoyed the laugh almost as much as the chocolate. These are some, the top one about the pen, that was made by the 4 FFA groups at the middle schools, and they just texted me what they want this time. We provide the item and they prepare it. You can tell who makes a homemade craft. On the bottom left, we've taken a juice box and turned it into a bunny, and they were given out. On the right, they are popcorn. You can tell which ones the kids made. They're more original. Packing day is done in what I call Just Because Central is my living room. And that's, we have an assembly line set up, and we have, like I said, 10 to 12 volunteers each of the 3 shifts. We have the campers at Caroline Furnace, and then a Girl Scout group. This is just some of the groups that I happen to have pictures of. But you can see who they are. I'm very proud of working with Shinpeico. I just gave them 900 packets of tissues, and they're putting labels on it that say a packet for your pocket. And Becca gives some of their artwork in each of the bags. And that I just talked about the beauty contestants. We were their community service project this year. The FFA groups and the Interact Club from Mountain View is also there. As of this week, the SPED class from Signal Knob is helping also with crafts. I dropped several off this week. And that is basically the project we offer. We hope very much to help our teachers and staff to recognize that they are appreciated by the public, because it is totally voluntary. People come and do what they want. I just went to the post office box and got another check for $250. So all of it will go back directly to the teachers. Everybody is volunteer, and it is a wonderful way to share kindness. I think that's something each one of us needs, and there may be a short supply. So we're hoping very much to at least add to the educators' day. Thank you.
Board members' comments?
Karen, I can't believe how much you've grown in 6 years, because I remember when you were starting it, and I was skeptical because I thought, PTOs do this kind of thing, you know, why do this? But what you do is just, it's a little pick-me-up for the staff, and I don't know how you've gotten all those volunteers, but that's just amazing. And I know all of the staff appreciate everything you do, so thank you. And I have some placemats for you.
I forgot to mention that at the luncheons, I know Mr. Helsley was at one of them, we had placemats and then door hangers that people decorated and put on water bottles. The guidance counselor at Muhlenberg took those wonderful little sayings and put them on her door, so they're, you know, little pick-me-up kind of things. So yeah,
that's great.
Our confirmation class did that. Thank you.
They're not quite done yet.
That's okay.
They're still
The next
working.
one is October.
Yep.
Anyone else? Again, Karen, thank you for all of your hard work. And little things, I remember when I was teaching, little things like that means a lot. And the money you raise for the community countywide, it's wonderful. So keep up the hard work. Okay, going on, Dr. Shepard, the opening of 23-24 school year.
So we've had a great start to our 2023-24 school year. The following slides will show some pictures of our major events, and then we'll talk a little bit about enrollment at the very end. So we started our year with welcoming our new teachers at New Teacher Orientation on August the 3rd. We had 3 action-packed days and evening events for our new teachers, which I really think they enjoyed. The evening events were local things that they could do at their either northern, central, or southern campus, and I think they had a great time. So just some pictures of. We changed up our new teacher orientation a little bit to celebrate our new teachers coming to selecting Shenandoah County Public Schools. On Thursday, August 10th, we held our open house at all of our schools from 2 to 7, or 1 to 7. Our staff and teachers were excited to welcome students and parents back to school. We had a great turnout at every single one of our schools. We also sent out a survey to determine whether, because we moved open house from Friday to Thursday, if that worked out well for our staff, and 81% of our staff said they preferred having open house on Thursday as opposed to Friday because it interfered with yard crawl and other things. So next year our open house will be scheduled for Thursday. There are a few details that we need to work out, but I think overall it went very well. Then on August the 15th, we welcome students back to our buildings. And you will see that we had several of our mascots available at our schools. Our students really enjoyed that. And then on Tuesday, August the 29th and Wednesday, August the 30th, our 2nd and 5th graders took a field trip to the fair. Students were able to visit the Triplet Tech building. They visited the exhibit hall. They visited the farm equipment, and then they also visited the livestock barns. The 2nd and 5th graders were led through these tours by the FFA students at our middle schools. And they learned a lot about the Shenandoah County Fair during their time at the fair. On August the 31st, we had convocation after school started. Lydia DiNardo was our speaker, and then we also had a video with several current and graduated students celebrating our teachers and our staff. We sent out a survey to our staff about whether they appreciated having convocation after school started, and the consensus on that was they would rather have it after school started than before school started. It allowed them more time in their classroom. So we just want to remind parents that students receive breakfast and lunch for free this school year thanks to being part of the Community Eligibility Provision Program. This year, food service has served 16,641 breakfasts and 36,448 lunches in August, which is an average of 1,387 breakfasts and 3,037 lunches per day. In August of 2022, food service served an average of 1,434 breakfasts, so we're slightly down on breakfast this year by about 47 breakfasts per day, but we are up about 283 lunches per day across the division. Last year we served a little over 100,000 more meals from the previous year. So the number of lunches that we serve are more this year than they were last year, and they were more last year than they were pre-pandemic, so 2018, 2019. And then our September 7th enrollment. So this year you'll see that number towards the bottom. Our enrollment is 5,688 students, pre-K through 12. The number of students we have that are K through 12 are, let me find that number, 5,513 students. We're up 43 students from last year. And the big jump in our students, is the students who went from 8th grade to 9th grade. Last year we had 427 students in 8th grade. This year we have 481 students in 9th grade. So that number, more students signed up to go to Shenandoah County Public Schools from 8th grade to 9th grade. And our number of kindergarten students last year was 369. Our number this year is 394, so slightly up. Our kindergarten students are slightly up this year from last year. Be happy to answer any questions.
I have a comment, and I shared this with Dr. Shepard. At Peter Muhlenberg, they did a meet the admin night because it's 2 new principals there. And it was great. It wasn't very well attended, but there were probably 15 to 20 families there. And 4 of those families were families that I knew who had either homeschooled or sent their kids to private school. I was really surprised to see them at that, but I was happy, happy that they were coming back. And I have only had a chance to talk to one of the moms about it, and what she said was it was important for them to send their kids to private school when their kids were young because our schools are just so big, and they thought it would be overwhelming for their child. But their kids are coming back in middle school because of all of the, not just the education they get, but all of the other things, the sports, the clubs, the socialization, all of that stuff. So I thought it was great to see these families coming back. And some of them are mixed. You know, some of them still have a young kid in a private school, and then the middle school kid is back. And there was one family that one homeschool kid came back, but the other one won't come back until 9th grade. So he'll be one of those 8th graders that decides to come back in 9th grade. So I thought that was interesting. Out of maybe 20 families, 4 of them were coming back.
Ms. Barlow.
Yeah, I'd like to congratulate you on a really great opening. I think a lot of this is directly attributable to the leadership model that you, Dr. Shepard, showed in picking your cohorts and your leaders and new principals. And with such a large percentage of new principals for things to go so well shows that the vision has been accepted and bought into. And I think that's really wonderful. And in just terms of one of the activities, I am concerned sometimes about the gap we have when we have the fair. But I think the field trips that the elementary school kids take to the triplet pavilion is marvelous, because the triplet kids get a chance to show off a little bit, but with bricklaying and building tables and doing hands-on stuff like that. And I think it's really cool that the elementary school kids can see what's down the road for them and what's feasible, and in a sense of kind of looking up to the next generation. And I think that's a good way to stitch together the fact that it's school, but it's still part of the fair. And I think that helps kind of bring the community together. So that's just a small aspect of opening, but I think it's a good way to, again, stitch together the aspects of the community. So well done on that.
Other comments?
No, congratulations. You did well.
The only thing I like to add is that Muhlenberg, I attended with Ms. Walsh the meeting, the new administration, but the way that building looked in July, the rooms that they tore apart and tried to get the foundation safe for the students to show up, and then in late August, you never knew that the construction was in the building. And so someone worked extremely hard. Maintenance, janitorial staff, I mean, it was just amazing. So what it looked like it was going to be a troublesome situation. Of course, they're going to have to come back this summer to repair it. It's amazing they've done that. So yes, Dr. Shepard, it was a smooth opening. Anything else on the opening? Okay, moving on, Ms. Hodges, staffing report.
Good evening.
Our administrators and staff have done an amazing job of hiring and onboarding through another very challenging hiring season. Ongoing teacher shortages have made headlines for years now. Fewer people are going into the teaching profession, and there's a much smaller pool of candidates. Plus, there's so many districts competing for those talented applicants that the hiring process has become very high stakes. The Winchester Star recently printed an article that shared a poll by the National Education Association, and this poll reported high percentages of burnout, lack of adequate pay, and pandemic-related grievances among U.S. teachers. In a recent research study by MDR, which is a company that specializes in collecting statistics on teachers, only 10% of current teachers reported that they would strongly recommend the teaching profession to a young person. It's important that we continue to promote positive messages about teaching and learning in Shenandoah County Public Schools. Our teacher retention rate for 22-23 is 85%. Remember that retention is the opposite of turnover, so 85% of our staff chose to continue teaching in SCPS this year. This also means our turnover rate was about 15%, which is just under the national teacher turnover rate of 16% as reported by the National Center for Education Statistics in 2022. Here is a list of all the positions that were filled this year, including transfers. I've noted in red the positions that have experienced the most turnover, which includes 16 administrator vacancies at the school and central office levels. Within this list, 112 are new to SCPS. We utilize a number of methods for recruiting and advertising. This past year, we attended 15 in-person job fairs in 4 states, as well as 5 virtual job fairs. We also advertise vacant positions on electronic job boards with colleges and universities, and we do paid advertising on Google and Indeed and through social media sites, and some advertising through our local newspapers, both in print and online. New this year, SCPS has partnered with iTeach, which is an alternative teacher certification program that allows teacher candidates with a bachelor's degree to complete coursework for teacher licensure within just 1 year. This program was approved by the Virginia Department of Education and will be reevaluated in 3 years. As of today, we have 14 unfilled teacher vacancies. We started the year with 8 long-term subs in vacant positions, and several who are finishing the requirements will be appointed, to be appointed as a teacher in second semester. Principals have worked to cover the remaining vacancies by assigning additional blocks to teachers and increasing class sizes where they can. Due to the shortage of school counselors, we also hired several counselor interns to assist with providing counseling services. These interns are in counseling programs, and we hope that they'll choose to return to us when they complete their program. Overall, we filled 150 of the 164 vacancies we had, and again, that includes the internal transfers. Just this morning, I saw an article in my newsfeed that was in the Richmond Times-Dispatch earlier this week. It reported that Virginia is facing an unusually large teacher shortage with about 4,300 teacher vacancies at the start of this school year. This is over 700 more vacancies compared to last year. This article included data reported by a JLARC study that showed Virginia's overall teacher vacancy rate at 4.8%. It was 3.9% last year and 3.1% the year before. Prior to the pandemic, the teacher vacancy rate hovered around 1%. Our current teacher vacancy rate this year is 2.8%. We currently have 8 unfilled positions of the 63 support staff vacancies. The total number of positions filled in the division due to resignations and transfers for both professional and support staff positions is just over 200 positions. This chart shows the experience of teachers who left SCPS grouped by their years of experience. The purple bar on the right represents this past year. 47% of the teachers who left us were our most experienced teachers who had 11 or more years of experience. This year, 53% of our new teachers have 0 to 3 years of experience. We will provide them with support through our QMET program, which stands for Quality Mentoring of Exceptional Teaching, and they have each been assigned a mentor as well. Only 21% of the new teachers are more experienced teachers with 11 or more years of experience, but they'll still need support to learn SCPS practices and procedures. I've shown you the experience that we lost and the experience of the new staff that we hired. This slide shows the total experience of our teaching staff for the current school year. For the 2023 school year, 52% of our teaching staff have 11 or more years of teaching experience. I'd also like to note that almost 12% of our teaching staff have a provisional license. We have 22 SCPS graduates returning as new teachers this year. This is the largest number of SCPS graduates to return since I've been tracking this data point over the last 3 to 4 years. These are color-coded by the campus at which they'll be teaching. We had 4 support staff in the division who have become teachers this year. 3 transferred from paraprofessional positions, and 1 transferred from a clerical position. Here you see the top 3 divisions that our teachers went this year, with Frederick County being the highest at 13%. To share another perspective, this chart shows where our teachers live who travel here from outside of Shenandoah County. While 13% of the teachers who left us went to Frederick County, 8% of our staff live in the Frederick County, Winchester area and travel here to work. Likewise, 5% of the teachers who left went to Rockingham County, but 11% of our teachers travel here to work from the Rockingham County, Harrisonburg area. About 73% of our teachers live in the Shenandoah County area. During the exit survey process, the top 3 primary reasons teachers noted they were leaving were retirement, family or personal considerations, such as personal health or caring for a family member with a health condition, or to stay home with children, and dissatisfaction with school or division climate related to discipline. Teachers also noted relocation or demanding workload as secondary reasons for leaving. Through exit conversations, many discussed being overwhelmed with testing, child study meetings, IEP meetings, lesson planning, and large class sizes. Several also mentioned concerns with negative community perception that's not realistic and lack of parent involvement. They're also feeling outside pressure from parents and the community, particularly on social media. In general, teachers feel undervalued as professionals. Some of the positives that came out of the exit surveys and conversations: teachers continue to praise the division in that all decisions are made in the best interest of students. They recognize that students truly are the #1 priority in SCPS. They praise division efforts for career readiness for all students. They feel a strong sense of camaraderie and support from their peers within the schools and the division. They appreciate relevant professional development opportunities and instructional support from central office. And they also feel the division does a good job of recognizing student and staff accomplishments. So what can we do? Most importantly, we need to show all staff that they're valued and appreciated. In an article published by Centigix in February of last year, the Virginia Education Association, which is VEA, stated that in order to retain teachers, we need to provide them with resources to support students who are most in need. This includes support for student discipline, and also with the support for resources and services that are provided by our student support specialists. The VEA also cited that schools must offer competitive compensation. Staff recognize and appreciate the efforts towards competitive pay and the additional contribution towards dependents' health insurance. Because of the salary increases that you approved for this year, our starting teacher pay ranks second among our surrounding divisions. Keep in mind, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, that 53% of our new teachers have 0 to 3 years of experience. We need to continue that momentum as we lean into budget planning for next year. The VEA said that schools must offer effective training and professional development, as well as learning communities where their professional judgment is considered, valued, and respected. And they also cited the need to create a climate of safety in their schools, noting that this isn't just about preventing violence. It's also about creating safe places for teachers and students to connect. When schools facilitate personal connections and a sense of belonging, its teachers feel at home professionally. This also includes having a school safety plan that nurtures a sense of safety for teachers and students. As a nod towards additional efforts to make our schools as safe as possible, the division is updating elementary school entrances to create a vestibule for greeting parents and visitors. The division also has recently purchased and is currently implementing a school safety app called LifeSpot, which is a communication tool for mitigating active threats within the school geofence location. I just shared a lot of information with you. What questions do you have for me?
Questions?
You were pretty thorough. As I was going through it, I was writing, but then you answered them, so you did. Thank you. You did well.
Well, what you talked about support, I think Pastor Karen in her program, Just Because, I mean, that's huge. I mean, even though they're small things they give, I think the teachers understand that. Any other comments? Thank you, Linda. Okay, moving on, 4.4 draft of proposed library material selection policy. Dr. Heingardner.
I don't have much to include here other than what is there on your computer, that those two policies. But I do want to say, because the librarians were very adamant, please make sure that you understood that what they've presented are suggestions. They don't want it to appear that they're trying to compete with another policy. It's not a this versus a that. These are some suggestions. If you would like to use them, that's great. If you decide you don't need them or don't want to use them, it's fine too. They understand they'll work under whatever needs to be done, but that these were suggestions. So they said, please make sure the board understands that. So that I'll do my best to help answer any questions, but it's really, what you see is what there is.
Dennis?
So we will have time to discuss this at the work session. It's been scheduled. The vote is scheduled for next month. The only things I would like to say to further elaborate on the process is that as part of the policy committee with Brandy, we do appreciate the continual input we've had from the librarians. I want to thank Andrew for coming up with some really good points that he's added to the discussion the last month. You're probably all aware that Andrew used his good offices for us to strike a balance in the first policy for review. So I wanted to thank him. I wanted to thank Erica Hebner for providing, I think, some really good guideline questions for us, for me personally, that has helped me clarify some of my positions. I just want you to know that, and everybody on the board, of course, that I'm open to any amendments that might clarify this based on some of those points. Just so we have a little prep, one of the things that might be open to amendment is the weeding process, trying to either drop it out and take care of it another time, making it something that would be the purview of the librarians, or leaving as is. But I think that's one of the things that would come up for discussion. And I think another one would be something based on, I think, some points that, and I've provided my response to Erica, to each of you, is that I personally would think we could take a look at, there were some kind of subjective views that were indicated there about book reviews and so forth. And so I think those are some things that we might specifically want to take a look at it for discussions and for amendments. As I said, there's time for discussion and debate at another time, but just wanted to lay out the process a little bit more specifically, and specifically to thank your office for keeping us up to speed and on. Your ticklers have moved us along, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Other board members?
Yeah, I'd like to add, this is, it's a really emotional, of all the things that we deal with, emotional topic, and I understand the passion behind it. Please don't think it has anything to do with your professionalism. It doesn't. And I know that seems to be where it's going. There is a policy that we have. I think it's 11? No, LLA. I think is what it is. 11. There are currently 101. Actually, up until last week, I think Ms. Shepherd, I asked you to add another one. Titles in our libraries with sexually explicit material in it. 102, so right now. And I haven't checked the one I asked you to add. It's called Red Hood, and it's by Alana Arnold. And it starts out, the tight black curls of his pubic hair surrounded his erection. It's wet-tipped and urgent, and stroke it with your fingers. Find his penis and guide it towards the entrance of your vagina. It feels thick there, sort of scary, and there's a moment when you wonder how on earth it's going to fit inside, but James doesn't rush you, and you lower yourself onto him. For those of you that want to FOIA it, when you do FOIA, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, I took a video of it so you can see that it's there. That's the store of stuff, 102 titles that we have. I have not asked, just for clarification, I have not put through anything that has asked for them to be removed. But they are there. Any parent can go look at those titles, can do their research. I fully hope that you do. That's it.
Anyone else?
I think it was policy IIA.
IIA, yes. Thank you.
I brought a copy of this because I had mentioned it last time, but just for board members so you can see what the emails look like that the parents get every time their kid checks out. And Maggie was not home when I got the email, so I decided that I would check Destiny as a citizen, not as a parent. So I exited out all of my school board stuff, and I went in as a citizen. It was a little bit hard to find, but I got it in 3 clicks, and was able to look at the book and what it was about. So
yeah,
you get the notification.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they've done with the analytics on that. When you scroll down to get that search bar, it disappears, at least mobily, a couple times. I haven't tried it there, but it's a little not user friendly on that respect, but that's a Follett thing. So
yeah, I used my computer because I wanted to print it out.
Anything else? Okay, we will look at it in our work session later this month. Okay, moving on, 4.5, request to increase the 2024 operating budget, IDEA Part B flow for special education. Ms. Stein, you're already here.
Here I am, yes, thank you. So the 2023-24 Individuals with Disabilities Act, Part B flow through federal allocations has been approved and finalized, and as such, we have received a 2024 allocation of $1,527,612, which is an increase of what we budgeted of $142,612. So here just to request that we appropriate those additional funds. These funds are restricted for certain uses and will be available through a reimbursement process. So this will be, is for information tonight, and will be up for vote at your October meeting.
Okay. Questions? Okay.
Thanks.
Hearing none, going to action items. 5.1, School Board Advisory Committee. Dr. Shepherd, you have two motions, college, you got two motions there. Ms. Jett wants either the first one or the second one.
Well, whatever they wish to make as a motion.
Okay. Who, yes. Someone would like to make a motion.
I move to dissolve the agenda setting and the agents to approve bills committees.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Gutschall. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Barlow. Discussion.
Can somebody remind me why we wanted to dissolve those? Is it just that they don't need to be official committees, they're just roles? Okay, that's fine.
And it didn't have to be advertised, correct?
It's not a public meeting. If, we have a resolution for the agents to approve bills, and then we have a policy that takes care of the agenda setting. So we have other opportunities for those to be not committees.
Anything else? Roll call vote?
All right, I'm going to reread the motion. I move to dissolve the agenda setting and the agents to approve bills committee. Is the motion on the floor?
That's correct. Motion made by Mr. Gutschall and second by Mr. Barlow. Roll call vote.
Mr. Barlow?
Yes.
Ms. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Gutschall?
Yes.
Ms. Roots?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Housley?
Yes. Motion carried by 6-0 vote. 5.2, request for reappropriation of lease revenue funds that Ms. Stein mentioned in our last meeting. Do I hear a motion?
I move to request that the school board reappropriate the remaining lease revenue funds of $7,208.
Board of Supervisors.
$728,213 to fiscal year 2024.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Keller. Do I hear a second?
A second.
Second by Ms. Roots. Discussion. Hearing none, roll call vote.
Mr. Barlow?
Yes.
Ms. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Gutschall?
Yes.
Ms. Roots?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
And Mr. Housley?
Yes. Motion carried by a 6-0 vote. Okay, 5.3, request to increase the 2024 special budget Claude Moore Foundation. Do I hear a motion?
I move to request that the Board of Supervisors increase the FY 2024 special budget Claude Moore Foundation by $114,167 due to receiving a grant to benefit the new occupational therapy, physical therapy aid program.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Barlow. Discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Barlow?
Yes.
Ms. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Gutschall?
Yes.
Ms. Roots?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
And Mr. Helson?
Yes. Motion carried by 6-0 votes. 5-4, request to increase the 2024 special budget new teacher recognition. Do I hear a motion, please?
I move to request that the Board of Supervisors increase the FY 2024 special budget by $5,000 for new teacher recognition for donations received for our new teacher orientation.
Thank you, Ms. Roots. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Keller. Discussion. Roll call vote.
Mr. Barlow?
Yes.
Ms. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Gutschall?
Yes.
Ms. Roots?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
And Mr. Helson?
Yes. Motion carried by 6-0 vote. 5-5, request to amend the special budget for changes in allocations from the approved budget. Do I hear a motion?
I move to request that the Board of Supervisors revise the fiscal year 2024 special budget to $6,903,300 to align with current allocations.
Thank you, Mr. Gutschall. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Second by Ms. Roots. Discussion. Roll call vote.
Mr. Barlow?
Yes.
Ms. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Gutschall?
Yes.
Ms. Roots?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Helson?
Yes. Motion carried by 6-0 vote. Going on, 5-6, request for appropriation for remaining grant allocations. Do I hear a motion? Colleagues?
I move to request that the Board of Supervisors increase the fiscal year 2024 grant allocations in the amount of $298,267.02 for additional funds awarded for special education.
Thank you, Mr. Gutschall. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second for Mr. Keller. Discussion. Roll call vote.
Mr. Barlow?
Yes.
Ms. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Gutschall?
Yes.
Ms. Roots?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
And Mr. Helson?
Yes. Motion carried by 6-0 vote. 5-7, personnel. Do I hear a motion?
I move to approve the personnel list as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Keller. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Second by Ms. Roots. Discussion, roll call vote.
Mr. Barlow?
Yes.
Ms. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Gutschall?
Yes.
Ms. Roots?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
And Mr. Helson?
Yes, motion carried by 6-0. Proceeding with the agenda, Superintendent's monthly report. Questions for Dr. Shepherd?
So I have a few comments.
Comments first.
Yes, I would like to thank our students, parents, and Shenandoah County Public School staff for making attendance a priority this year. In August 2022, our division-wide attendance was around 92%. This year, it is up more than 3 percentage points to 95.75, which is a great celebration. We are also excited to participate in the Script Spelling Bee again this year. We want to wish luck to our students in grades 5 through 8 as they begin their classroom level bees this month. Grade level bees will be held later this fall, and the county bee will be in January. Our triplet tech carpentry, electricity, and masonry students competed at the Rockingham County Fair's construction trades skills competition. Students brought home first place wins in all 3 areas, and all students who competed placed in the top 4. So congratulations to those students. Aiden Compton was one of our first students to graduate from our triplet tech firefighter/EMT courses, and he was just hired by our Shenandoah County Fire and Rescue. Athletics, our fall sports seasons have kicked off, and we would like to wish luck to all of our athletic teams and our marching bands as they compete this fall. And then we would like to thank Schaefer's Barbecue, Sheets, and Route 11 Potato Chips for providing lunches to the first annual Special Ed Academy in July. The Special Ed Education Department would also like to thank the Strasburg American Legion for providing space for safety care training for our teachers. And then I have two more. North Fork Middle School's FFA, along with Dara Boer, the teacher, has raised funds to build a pavilion for an outdoor learning space at North Fork Middle School. You will notice several donations on the fundraising list this evening, and then there will be additional donations on next month's list. And then you may have noticed that there's an additional fundraiser added today on the fundraising list, and it was Central High School Volleyball Dig Pink event to benefit breast cancer. Be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Dr. Shepherd? Hearing none. Thank you. The one thing about the pavilion, the fundraiser, it looks like this. It's going to be very beneficial to North Fork. They can host federation events where usually they have to travel to other schools for that.
And I think the concrete has already been poured.
It is, it has, yes. Okay, board comments. Who would like to start? Mr. Keller.
Sounds like everything is going well. Good back to school stuff. My grandkids are happy.
So you're happy?
So I'm happy. And it sounds like to me that teachers are back to the task of teaching kids, and that's what they want to do. So all systems go.
Ms. Ritz.
I can't remember when we toured. It's been a very long day for me.
It was right before school started.
We took a grand tour, had wonderful tour guides in our maintenance department. Mrs. Jack kept us on task. We had great conversation, and I appreciate you setting that up and us looking at the conditions of our schools and what needs to be fixed, and so I appreciate that. I'd like to open up some discussion regarding, well, before I go there, we had some pretty hot days in the last couple of weeks, and we had some air conditioning issues, and I appreciate the fact that they are all taken care of and we have those units running. I think Dr. Shepherd said that we had ordered those units months back for replacement, and they just had not come in yet. So I appreciate that they're up and going. Would like to look at some discussions. You know, we're in a unique place, not only in the middle of our central campus, but our Strasburg campus, with the traffic. What we can do, whether it's staggered times for pickup or whether it's staggering times across the divisions to help with those, to help with those traffic situations. I know that you've got a little bit of experience with this because Warren had implemented it. With our county, our distance traveled is a lot greater than Warren's, but it's probably some conversations that would benefit being had. That's it.
Mr. Gutschall.
So I found out that the BOS meeting, I guess it was last week or whenever it was, they tabled the whole adding the resource officer floater, which is kind of frustrating because we as a board sent the money back, and I'm sure hopefully it'll still get passed whenever they vote. But we received the money, and we could have just spent it, even though we as a board didn't officially ask for that extra bunch of money. But we sent it back because we wanted it to go towards a floater that would benefit the sheriff's department and the school system. We know how important school safety is nowadays. So to me, it's a no-brainer to allocate that money towards the resource officer floater. I know all of us, it would leave a kind of sour taste in our mouths if they decided to not spend that money towards that when we could have just spent it on whatever. So I encourage the BOS to put the money where we asked They don't have to, but I feel like that would be the right thing to do, considering we sent it back instead of spending it on whatever it could have been. School safety is important, especially nowadays, and that's my feelings on that. Something else, I was up broadcasting a football game last Friday at Mountain View, and the Generals football team, they may not win often, but the last 2 times they've won, I've been there broadcasting, and this one was pretty impressive. I mean, they ran all over Thomas Jefferson out of Alexandria, but they outplayed them. We only got to halftime because of course, it wanted to rain that night after we hadn't gotten any for a long time. But congrats to the Generals, of course, Central. They continue to play well, off to a good 3-0 start. I think the Rams are undefeated as well. But
I think they played this past
yeah,
week. I think
they were rained out a couple of times.
They beat Skyline in the week prior to that.
But Central's got one more win than Strasburg, so
okay.
That's
Okay, Ms. Walsh.
Let's see. I just wanted to thank Pastor Karen Casperson again for hopping up at the last minute and doing the invocation, and also just giving us some of the details about Just Because. It's a great program, and I'm happy to hear how much it's grown. One thing that's near and dear to my heart, as you guys know, is performing arts, and our kids from all 3 high schools participated this week in a choral festival at Bridgewater College. And I love it when all of the high schools do things together, and my girls look forward to things like that as well. Molly was excited to see some of her friends that she hadn't seen in a while, and then Maggie went to the Worlds of Work. Was it yesterday?
Maybe.
They're all running together. What, wasn't it today? No, maybe it was yesterday.
No, it was today, Thursday.
Anyway, which is just an amazing opportunity for kids to visit different industries and different kinds of jobs, and I really appreciate all the people who volunteer for that. I saw that they even had a writer's booth this year, and there were a couple of our local writers who were staffing that booth. But Maggie was thrilled because the Strasburg campus also sent their kids at the same time, so she got to see all of her Strasburg friends. So I love it when all 3 campuses do things together. I will tell you one other thing that I have learned from my children this year is discipline is a serious focus this year in the schools, and it's not. I really appreciate that Dr. Shepard and her staff worked really hard on this over the summer so that we're all on the same page, or all the schools are on the same page as far as messaging and the seriousness of it. My girls really appreciate it because they cannot stand when classes are interrupted by kids who misbehave. So, so thank you for that. I think it's making a difference already. And then lastly, I just went and looked at the donations because you had mentioned the outdoor classroom. Wow, there are a lot of donations for that outdoor classroom, but there's also a lot of donations for other things, and it's individual donors on up to big companies, and then churches. There's all kinds of groups making donations to Shenandoah County Public Schools, and I just appreciate the generosity of our community. That's it for now.
Mr. Barlow.
Yeah, so I got 3 things. One is the most pleasant to mention, which is I was very much impressed with our attendance improvement, which was one of the big things that it is one of the big things that employers are interested in, and a 2% gain at that point, at that upper range, is so impressive already. So kudos. And I think that does indicate that those messages and the vision from the top has had its impact. Where there is no vision, the people perish, and there is vision, and when that vision is articulated and strong as it is for attendance improvement and for discipline, academics, we're going to see that rise. So I think that's great news. When we do discuss the library policy in a couple weeks, I hope we can talk about the issues themselves and derive some of the atmospherics out of it. I was, first of all, I want to emphasize that when this issue started about a year and a half ago, the first part of the review part, there was a request from the librarians that we take this in 2 steps. And I was the first to agree that we should do that. And the policy committee has met with the librarians and has up to this very moment, has requested input, has accepted that input graciously and has worked on it. And at no time do I believe that anybody on this board has denigrated our librarian staff. So it's interesting to me that there are those who spoke last time about an implication that there was some sort of denigration that may be from some people, other folks who have engaged in this on social media. Since I don't engage in social media, I don't know, but it hasn't come from this board. Just total respect for librarians as professionals. Unfortunately, there are those who have decided to denigrate our parents, who would be the ones who would participate in this program. And a lot of people apparently did not read the policy, or they would know that the parents do not have veto rights or powers, but can form only part of a committee that overviews a list that's already been developed. And the characterization of our parents who would participate as unqualified radicals, contemptible, suppressive, lily white, uncomfortable, uneducated, biased, untrained, judgmental, disrespectful, people who would ban Johnny Appleseed, or people who would be afraid of having books about hurricanes, and in which Johnny and Jamie Citizen would screw up this process, have kind of cocked this this discussion a little bit, and it bothers me that there is an attempt to make this an us versus them issue, and I would like to see it as a us issue combined, the whole group, the whole community of Shenandoah County Public Schools, all the stakeholders, and indeed the policy includes participation of every single group. And my third issue was not pleasant at all, but I have been called out several times by the chairman over the past year or half year for making political statements that weren't even political. During a budget discussion, I was charged with making political hay, for which the chairman apologized. I appreciated that. But yet again, in an agenda setting session, something that was already on the agenda was taken off by the chairman. And he said he was taking it off because I was acting political. I asked him what that political was, and it was because I wrote an op-ed for the Northern Virginia Daily. I advised him it was my First Amendment right to write an op-ed. It happened to be critical of the Biden cabinet. Although I wrote another one about the problem with cluster munitions being used by or condoned by the United States in Ukraine. So this has kind of been a pattern of the chairman of making kind of arbitrary decisions that really go against our code, our policy and norms throughout the year. And I'm not going to go into those. They've occurred in the past. I'm not going to ask for any action from the board. But the very fact that that the chairman has accused me of these things, and apparently has involved himself in political issues. I find disturbing, and I would like for us to drive on and leave this behind us, and leave the labeling of positions, which mine are driven by conviction and not party. Party is not important to me, but my convictions are. And I'd like to be judged on those rather than what are perceived political points of view. So, sorry I have to do that, Mr. Chairman. I just felt that I had to clear the air. That's all.
Okay, thank you. I will start by saying I will apologize to the candidates that were not invited by me personally. And I apologize for Dr. Shepherd. I could have checked with her. I did, it was an oversight. I did not attend because of a family emergency that I could not attend. If not, I would have been there. It would be my last convocation. Okay? It was very special to me. And Ms. Seeger asked me to tape some of my remarks, which I did, and the staff saw them, whatever. The only thing I got to say, Dennis, to you is I got 3 months, and then it's yours. One thing, what Mr. Woods raised, Dr. Shepherd, about the enrollment at North Fork, math. Can that be looked at, or how did that become an issue when we moved from Mountain View to North Fork?
Yep, so I talked to Anne Marie Noonan earlier this week, and she said that they had several students in 8th grade move into the district from last year, so moving from 7th to 8th grade. And then also, it's very difficult to find another math teacher.
Okay.
We likely have vacancies in math, and we have some that are filled with long-term subs.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're aware of it, whatever. The other thing I like to close was I found the book, I think 2 years ago, that the day that farmers quit, that teacher from Rockingham published a book, The Day Teachers Quit. And I've been asked to read in the Northern Campus one day in October, and I'm going to share that book with them. And also, I think all the families in Shenandoah County got the Shenandoah County Recreation Guide, Parks and Recreation, and we have 6 pages at the end of that. I hope you will look at it. Okay, at that note, the meeting adjourned at 8:55.